So here's my diet, which I attribute largely to the big turnaround that I did this week. Uh, so the first thing that's kind of interesting is that when you look at the diet, you think, wow, okay, we're this is a little easier, because the first meal is a grapefruit, a whole grapefruit. Now, keep in mind that the diet before, I didn't get to eat anything but glutamine and some branched chain amino acids before going to work out. And I mentioned to you that that's not normally something I would do. That's I've always preached you never lift weights on an empty stomach. But that's where trusting the trusting the system, the program you're in, the plan, and I did it. And I think those 3 weeks were good. And it set me up for this diet, which, again, going from not eating before a workout to eating a grapefruit I look at this and I'm like, this is a piece of cake. So after that was meal one. After working out, my next meal is 10 egg whites, which I'm in heaven. I mean, that's a great meal, 10 egg whites. I love, love, love eggs. So anything with eggs, I mentioned before, eggs in any meal saves a meal. I don't care if it's something I don't like liver. Throwing some eggs in there is good. And then with that meal was 10 egg whites and a cup of oats. So the oats, they were delicious. That's a good meal, So I look forward to that meal. And actually, for the first time this week, I was in the middle of the workout and I'm hungry. And I'm confused because I'm thinking I had a grapefruit. Last week I was training on nothing. And now I have a grapefruit in me and I'm starving. And it just goes to show how he was setting up my metabolism for that. And it's a good sign. Sometimes when you're hungry, it just shows your metabolism is going. So after that meal, this would be the third meal of the day, I get 8 ounces of roughy and 2 cups, on top of 2 cups of spinach leaf lettuce, or I just get baby spinach leaves, and with lemon. So that's meal number 3, and that's a great meal, because I told you that fish roughy is I love that fish. In another video I'll share some stories about roughy. It's kind of an interesting thing. I'll give you a little insight into some of the secrets maybe some bodybuilders rather not share, and roughy's one of them. Okay, so the next meal after that, which would be meal number 4, 6 ounces of grass-fed beef. And I want to emphasize this, grass-fed beef tastes so much better than just your regular beef. It's more expensive, but I only get it once a day, so I splurged, and I got the grass-fed beef. It's on my diet, but that ensures I'm not getting any hormones, antibiotics. As I'm getting closer, that's a really good idea to tighten everything up. So I got that. And by the way, grass-fed beef also has a better ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids. So that's also going to be a great thing for you. And then 4 egg whites. So that's a double whammy there. I get the egg whites, which I love, plus the grass-fed beef. It's an awesome combination. Then meal number 5 would be 8 ounces of roughy again. Okay, so it's a great meal to start. And 2 cups of green beans with a sprinkle of cinnamon. And the cinnamon is always there to help with sugar metabolism. Cinnamon is really good for balancing sugar levels, blood sugar levels. So that's there for that. Then this is a snack. We'll call it meal number 6. 4 grapefruit wedges. That's it. And that's in place there to just give me a little boost, a little bump in energy before doing my night cardio. So he had me doing some incline walking, 6 to 8% incline for 30 minutes. That preceded by that was just 300 ab stick turns, which I did, and I think those help pretty well. Okay, so that would be meal number 5. Now meal number 6, 4 ounces of tuna. I'm not big on tuna. Some people really like it. Um, it's just so bland to me. But 3 egg whites. So there it is. That's a good meal. And 10 asparagus spears. And the asparagus I like as well now. I know how to season it, and I cook it in coconut oil, so it's not a bad meal. It's not a bad thing. I enjoy it. I wouldn't say on a scale of 1 to 10, asparagus is like I'd say a 6. So everything from 5 and up makes a good meal, defines a good meal. And then the very last meal of the day, which is would be meal number 8, I believe, is 8 ounces of chicken. And usually, I'm definitely home by this point, so I'll just as a treat, I'll put a little bit of coconut oil in a pan, and this I'll kind of fry a little bit. It's already cooked, but I'll kind of reheat it that way. Because I'd rather cook on a pan or reheat things on a pan than in the microwave. It always tastes so much better. So that kind of helps me with that meal. I look forward to that, and then it's time for bed. So I get a little less. Those 4 grapefruit wedges, that would make meal number, I think that was meal number 6. That really doesn't count. That doesn't fill me up at all. So I find myself a little hungrier, obviously, in this meal, and going to bed a little bit hungrier. But this is a good diet. And another thing that I did in here that I think helped me take that turn, I've been mentioning how I am, my trainer Mike would always say I'm a water buffalo, because I hold so much water. You look at me funny and I'll hold water. Anything makes me hold water, stress especially. Long rides in car. There was a weekend posing practice that I had driven 2 hours to Cincinnati, drove back, and I was so smooth you couldn't see anything. It was, it was embarrassing. When I saw the video, and by the way, touch on that topic. I putting some of this stuff out there, me posing and just the way I looked. This wasn't the most fun thing to do, because I'm so critical, and I you never look as good in video, and especially with the lighting in that posing room in the gym. It's terrible. So I looked at the videos and I'd almost want to quit. That feeling of like, what am I doing? I'm making a fool of myself. This is ridiculous. But that's where you move on conviction and not a feeling. So I kept pressing on, and then it just kind of happened. But one of the things that I attribute to the sharp turn I took this week, and also the reason why I looked smoother going into this, was my sodium intake. I was using sea salt, and rightfully so. I believe in that. I think it keeps you healthy. It's important for your adrenals, which get taxed a lot during contest prep. And I've talked to Mike about this, and the only downside to using, something like Celtic sea salt, I'm not talking about table salt, I'm talking about something with some minerals in it. The only disadvantage is that the person who's helping you doesn't really have a clear understanding or a clear view of what you really look like, because you're covered in a if you will, in a sheet of water, especially for someone who's as sensitive as I am to holding water. Now, other people can get away with it just fine, but for me, it definitely plays a factor. So I stopped cooking with adding the Celtic sea salt to all of my food. So what's left as far as sodium in my diet is just what's found in the food. There's a lot of sodium in eggs, so I've got plenty. It's not like I'm not by any means am I depriving of salt. I'm eating foods that contain it, the meats, the fish, naturally, there was another thing with salt in it. There's the meats. Oh, the eggs, the egg whites. all of those things have salt in it. So I'm not deficient, but I'm not in an excess like I was before. So eliminating that really, I mean, my body just changed within 2 days pretty quickly. So that's where I'm at as far as the diet. Looking to this week, it's I'm kind of taking it easy with my legs. I think I'm going to get, I'm certain I'm going to get one more diet, and this will be the diet that explains how I'm going to introduce more carbs and then take them out. And that's you know, that'll take a while to explain how we do this, because Mike and I have done this already for several shows, and he, you know, him and I both agree that we know what works for me, and so we got a kind of a system in place, and I'll explain that in the next time that we film, which might be midweek or at the end of right before the show. So I'm expecting this week to in this week to look 10% better. I think I look probably 20% better from last week. Minimum, I'm expecting this week to look 10% better. I'm going to really ramp up my my water intake. I'm at about 2 gallons. I'm going to shoot for 3, and then I'm also starting to use natural diuretics, and by that I mean these are herbs, dandelion leaf, not the root, dandelion leaf. Just introduce that, and then something that helps with circulation, especially for the lower body, and that's horse chestnut. So both are things that I get from the company I work with. I've recommended that to so many people in contest prep and given them great results. So for those of you out there that are getting ready for a show, number one thing, dandelion root is great for the liver, but it's not really for the purpose you want it to get rid of extracellular or subcutaneous water. Dandelion leaf, and if you if you look for a practitioner in your area, you just go to standardprocess.com, look for a practitioner in your area, and call them and see if they've got the dandelion leaf. It has to be the dandelion leaves extract, and it's nasty, but you put it in a bunch of water, and you know, you swallow it down, and that will tighten you up. It has potassium already in it, so you're doing it in a healthy way. You're not gonna pull water out of your muscles, so the risk of getting flat is not gonna be there. I think that works so much better than even going to, you know, drugs like obviously Lasix, all these other drugs that a lot of bodybuilders play Russian roulette with, you know, and end up too flat. So that's something for you to bank on. It will help you look a lot better. Dandelion leaf extract, and it's you get it through standardprocess.com, or you can contact them to see where you get it. And then horse chestnut complex, that's what I'm starting to use. So I expect to look at least 10% better by the time I get on stage. I cut my water Friday or Thursday night. I compete on Friday, and I should be ready to go. And then I come off stage, and I'm not eating a pizza. I'm not going to get subs. I'm not eating cookies, ice cream. I got a show in 8 weeks, and here's where I win it. The moment I get off the Arnold stage, that's when I'm heading for the Pittsburgh. So and I can just kind of focus on that. So good things happening, and I'm just thankful to God that you hear this all the time. He gives me the strength, but you know, people say that all the time. But I'm thankful for the lessons that I learned from Him while I'm doing something that's so superficial and maybe vain, but it really teaches life lessons. And it's always been that way, and I'm just thankful for the sport, because it gives me a platform to speak from and share my thoughts and share these life lessons that I learned along the way. So I just want you to know that is ultimately what keeps me mentally stable. It's that, knowing that I have that foundation.